Greetings, travelers. You just crash landed on the M&Me podcast. But fear not, for this is no mistake, no fault in the stars, no glitch in the matrix. No, I'm afraid this has all been planned, predetermined by powers known not to us. But fear not, for you're among friends. So pull up a chair and join us as we find our way together. Matthew,
Michael,
Spore, how are you boys? How you boys doing?
yeah, Spore. How's the Spore feeling?
Spore's feeling good, man. I think the Spore's feeling good.
Yeah,
The
so it
Spitzel-
was 2 weeks ago that we saw him, right?
It was.
It-
It was.
It doesn't. It's nice that it didn't feel that long, but at the same time, it feels like it's been too long.
It's been too long.
It's a paradox.
And
of
now
a-
we're
of a
back
feeling and
for, as we said, we're
Mikey?
coming off the heels of having Spitzel
artistic
here.
boner. I mean,
Well, we're coming off the heels of having Spitzel here being on our last interview with the street artist Good Luck Buddha, and that was amazing.
Oh, yeah, that was
our,
really cool.
our elder millennial.
yeah,
Good Luck
dude.
Buddha.
The
Thank
term
you,
that I
sir.
never would
Thank you, brother.
That's fun. That was a great.
Thank you for
'cause,
joining us for
that's
the
a
time.
perfect
you-
description.
Yeah, he graced us with much knowledge, and so as promised, we're back now with about to be having an interview with an incredibly talented and gifted human being. Goes by the name of Chris Boyko. He's a surreal artist, surrealism.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get all
About
into
to get
what's
surreal in
we're,
here.
oh
Yeah.
let me tell you something.
Yeah, and we'll be going through his Instagram and a bunch of his stuff, but yeah, he's just
so
Boyko Art, BOYKOART, like Instagram.com.
.com.
And then, what's our Patreon that we got set up?
I think you're supposed to set that
Dude,
up like you
I-
do everything else.
Oh,
okay,
sorry,
and
guys,
he's here.
someone's knocking on the door.
So
So
we'll be right
we'll
back.
take a quick break and we'll be right back with our special guest.
Welcome back, and at this point we're now going to welcome, and we're now joined by our very special guest, ma'am, that goes by the name of Chris Boyko out of Georgia. He is a surreal artist, and we're very happy to have him here. So, Chris, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's... Yes, I'm so excited. I mean, hopefully, so we've been have a little back and forth, but it's, it's always great to see and actually have that human engagement,
Yeah, and
finally.
we're also
Sure, yeah.
we're also joined by our buddy, our mutual friend here, Spore. Thank you for being here again. Help us out. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and get right into whatever we
Yeah.
got for you. But
Yeah, so I guess kind of just to start, just for people like probably like me, even who don't have a real simple understanding of what surrealism is, which is that's what you do, correct? That's surrealism.
Yeah,
surrealism.
yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's like brief history is that it's an artistic and literary movement that emerged in the early 20s, primarily led by Andre Breton, who published the Surrealist Manifesto in 24. So I guess it sought to unlock the power of the unconscious mind, aiming to create art and literature that transcend rational thought and convention. Surrealists were very heavily influenced by the Freudian psychoanalysis, particularly the exploration of dreams and the unconscious. So a key takeaway, Freud's influence, dream imagery, surreal moments, I guess, I guess in 30s is whenever it really seemed to take off. And then just key artist Andre Breton, the one I recognize, like most people, be Salvador Dali. That might be the easiest way just to think of, a popular like a Picasso. It's like, oh, think of a Dali. There's a form of surrealism, and then I get Max Ernst, who's one that I know you'd kind of come across. So, but yeah, so that's just a brief summary for people like me and anyone else who just kind of wanted to have a little better idea before going into what we're about to be seeing, because I think it's an amazing, just beautiful style that so allows the all that, so it's gonna look weird to a lot of people, but yeah.
No, and his stuff is super dope.
yeah,
I get that
so
off.
yeah, so to start off, just kind of be interested to know with that little brief thing about what all we're talking about is. If you could just kind of let us know, like, where did it all start for you with doing art and kind of where you got now? Like, if you could take us, as quickly as you can from the beginning to where you are.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been doing, making art, I guess you can say my entire life, but eventually, carried on with it, went to college, for it. I wasn't really aiming to create like surreal art. It was more like I was creating this stuff, and then one of my professors, one of my mentors, told me, oh, this is surrealism. At the time I was, early on in college, I didn't really know much about it. Um, so then, from there, I just kind of continued doing my own thing and letting it like evolve and explore it. And that kind of pretty much led me to where I'm at today with it. Um, you know,
So
there are definitely like times where some things stuck and some things didn't. Not every thing I tried landed the mark, but like I kind of landed on this kind of blobby forms, um, and it kind of just I don't know. It really connected with me. I kind of you know
so
took
it
on
was
from
never
there.
a style you set out to emulate or anything. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like it was
exactly.
your own style, and then later on somebody saw it and was like, "Dude, this is surrealism." And it's like,
Yes,
really?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's dope.
And so from there, at that point, it's like did you find yourself being going and looking at other surreal artists or surrealism? Did that at any point influence it, or is it just something that kind of just came natural to you and it happened to be something that other people had been doing?
It kind of came natural to me, to be honest. I really like look at other surreal artists. I definitely paid a lot of attention to like a lot of the I don't know, like Rococo art, and like Baroque stuff. A lot of stuff that was kind of opposite of what I was doing. I was kind of looking at only because I don't know. I think it's probably healthy to kind of get a idea of the opposite end of the spectrum. I guess you could say, um, and kind of understand the opposite side of things, and kind of see what you can learn from them on the opposite end. So I was looking at a lot of that, and then I guess going back before college and like even I don't know early on childhood stuff. A lot of it I don't know. Drawing. I was drawing and painting a lot just from my own imagination. Then I think that aspect of kind of drawing from your own imagination kind of carried on into college and adulthood and stuff. Um, and kind of I don't know. I
No,
think
yeah.
is
Yeah.
aspect of childhood. I don't know imagination that carried on into my art today in some ways.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. So like it sounds so literally. And how old were you when? I guess you were in college. You said correct. Like whenever, but you'd been just literally out of your side of your mind. You didn't like look at anything and think I can think I might try and draw some version of that. It's just kind of this
Yeah,
is what came
yeah,
out.
yeah. I know like one thing I learned in art history was way back in the day that Greeks would like paint images on their walls because they couldn't afford. No one had a window, so instead they paint like scenes, like landscapes and stuff on their walls, um, and that was like their version of a
Mm.
window. So that really inspired me because I don't know. It's kind of like the invitation and being invited to like another world. I guess you
That's
could say.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
No, that's really cool. I never like I feel like I've heard what you just said there about the window thing, but like it just kind of made a connection of kind of how you end up,
You're only limited by your perspective.
yeah, one how it's
Yeah.
like how you end up upon what you're doing here. That's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
No, yeah, I mean a lot of
So,
your stuff is really great. Go ahead.
Thank you.
no, I was just gonna ask you, who are your influences? Like, is there anybody that when you were young? Because I know, as an artist myself, like I would look at things. Like I'd watch Bob Ross. It's like, man, I
Yeah,
could do that. And
yeah.
I get in there and it turns into a swamp
It
immediately.
turns into yes, yes. I know what you mean. I liked Francis Bacon a lot. Have you all heard of Francis Bacon?
Yep.
I liked him a lot. And I don't know. I mean,
He's related to Kevin Bacon, right?
Yes, that's what's
it's the way
7
I'm sure they're
degrees.
really
He's like zero.
6 degrees.
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess he's just
Kevin
like
and his
0
brother
degree.
Applewood.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so when you were young, that's who, like you looked up to these people, or you tried to emulate them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In some ways, yeah.
So did you start like drawing, or were you painting, or what was your medium when you first started?
Like at a very young age, I was doing like pastels, and then I started oil painting though around I don't know, however old you are in fifth grade, like 10 or so, I
Oh
guess.
wow.
That's crazy,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And it was the same like art instructor through all of like I don't know when I was like 5 to 18. He taught like the kid classes at this
Yeah.
Okay,
place. But he
was
also
it like a
taught-
magnet school you were at, or like it's?
No, this was like a like an art and recreation center like within the town I was living in
That's
Cumming, Georgia. But so the guy, he was kind of like the sole, art instructor of this art and recreation center. So he would do the kid classes, but then he also did the adult ones as well. Um, so starting out at like just the kids summer camps there, and then going on to taking the actual classes like every Tuesday night.
so he's like a
Um,
mentor. It sounds like.
Well, and
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
And he let me do my own thing when I was there. So like,
A great.
you know.
So that's really. So when he was there from the age all the way through high school, like that's crazy. To
Yeah.
have
I
that
think he-
consistency with an individual like that
yeah, that
with
he,
art,
like,
like
saw
that's
something
that's
in you.
that's
Yeah.
really cool too. And just to have had, it's like having the same coach for 15, 13 years. Like
yeah,
you really get to know and help. So there's
Pretty much.
that's really that there is like rare and unique, and that's awesome. Oh.
yeah. And then in college, I had like I got pretty close to a lot of my professors in college too. Like, I still stay in contact with one of them a good bit. We see each other every now and then and stuff.
Yeah, and which
So-
sorry, and so Bessa, which school did you go to again?
Oh. Kennesaw State University in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's not, one of the big state colleges, but it was definitely a good college. I learned a lot there.
Yeah, it's like I went to college and everything, and I guess like so, and I originally wanted to do film and all this stuff, but I settled on something else. Like, so you went in, like at what age in high school? It's just like I'm gonna go pursue art at the next level.
I guess. I don't know. I guess it was 17 or 18 at that age.
Okay.
I didn't really think of like. I wasn't really considering anything else though going into college. Like,
It's like what
was
it's
like,
like,
I
it's
guess-
a natural thing. Like what I don't like it. Why wouldn't I do this? You're so
Yeah,
into it.
yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. I'm
Yeah.
just curious because it's like I had a similar path, but I ended up switching degrees and stuff. But so that's really cool. Just because I just know that it's a big decision going in like for the young age. Like it's one of the first biggest decisions I guess we get
Oh, yeah.
if you do go to college. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it's fascinating.
I got a question. At what point did you really realize like that you kind of had, that you really had something, with what you were doing?
I think it was, I don't know, junior year of college or so, towards like maybe in the middle of college or end of college, somewhere around there. I think it was towards the like middle of college. I was like, I feel like I really had,
Like you
have
had to
something.
be a standout in that class, I bet. The graduating class.
Well, me, I don't want to brag, but
I mean, no, we're asking you. We just like to know,
By
like,
all means,
so
brag,
people get an
homie,
idea,
brag.
like of
Yeah.
how
'em
special
hang.
what you do and how
Yeah.
good you are.
yeah, but yeah, I mean,
No, brag, please.
Um,
I'd like to know.
Well, I think that's probably part
no,
of
I
the
mean,
reason.
I did pretty good in college and all
okay,
that. my
cool.
classes
That's
and-
awesome.
Yeah,
I think that's probably part of the reason too, where it's like that. Like you think that art instructor, because I had an art teacher when I was in elementary school. I did a lot of art when I was younger, and then got away from it. But I remember early on where it was like I had an art teacher in elementary school that like saw something in me that would like that she was like, you need to do lessons, like, and she actually like gave me art lessons and stuff because she saw something in me. And it's like I didn't necessarily pursue it, but is that kind of the same thing like with your art teacher where it was like you were going to the classes but he saw something in you that it's like, this kid's got something, and if I can kind of coax it out of him.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Because it's hard, I guess, like without someone like the outside like perspective, I guess it can be, hard to know or difficult to tell if you have.
because you
like,
think it was like, yeah, this is a really good one, and it's like somebody else
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
at it and it's like, that's kind of crap, or man, that's really
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
and you're like, really? That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So when I started buying art when I was up in Canada, the first guy I ran across was Stephen Gibb, and he's the dude behind me. He does surrealism. He calls
Yeah,
it like bubblegum surrealism or pop surreal or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's wild looking stuff. And I got on looking, and I'd go online like Satachi or however you pronounce that, and
Yeah.
Etsy and that sort of stuff, and I'd
Yeah.
look up
Yeah.
surrealist artists, and there's just a ton of shit on there.
Yeah.
Just like it looked
Oh,
like
yeah.
my third grader just scribbled something and they're putting it up for $5,000.
Yeah.
And there are 4 artists that I've bought from,
Yeah.
and you're one of them, because when I found your stuff, it was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is super crazy, and they're pulling up one now that you did for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just it's super like, how do you, and I think there was something about automaticity in the way you paint. Could you
Yeah.
tell us your process?
And what that
Yeah,
word
yeah.
means?
Yeah.
Please.
Basically, like, so like I'll have like a general like sketch of like what I want to do.
Okay.
Uh,
Is that
it-
pencil on a canvas?
Yeah, well, so I do like I have my sketchbook here. So
Yeah.
like
Oh, show it up.
yeah. So like I'll do like I have like, very y'all can see it, like loose drawings, of things I might be like, just
Yeah.
ideas. I'm just
Yeah.
putting on paper. But then
That's all the
Also-
time, right? Probably any time of the day, any moment
Or just
type
whenever.
thing.
yeah,
Stretch you.
yeah, it's a good bit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I draw a
know the
lot.
feeling.
My
Yeah.
free time. And then like, so like I'm always drawing out little ideas and stuff like that. And then, but like when it comes to actual painting, I'll do like the general outline of the the composition of it, but all the little shapes and like details you see within the painting, like that all forms like just on its own, like naturally as I'm going.
And like real
none of
time.
that's
Yeah.
planned. Yeah. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. You just kind of, as you're going along, you can see like, oh, well, this piece could, fit in here, and this could fit in here, and it just kind of,
Yeah,
forms
but
into-
you have that baseline foundation and structure, kind of. It's like, okay, here's the framework, and then everything else kind of free flows within that.
Yeah. So like, I know the colors I want to use. I now have like the baseline down, and besides that, like the rest just kind of forms naturally.
That's cool, because it's like obviously with this piece here, he contacted you, and I'm sure you told him that you're from Waco, you wanted a Waco inspired piece, something like that. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
so-
I've done a few commissions, and I try to say as little as possible just so I can let them do whatever they want,
Yeah.
because that's
Okay.
what I'm buying.
Give
Yeah.
them
I'm
And
not.
so-
I don't want to pay for
large
an artist to
offense.
paint this and this and this.
Yeah.
It's like, here's an idea and just run with it.
so I find
And
it
it was
interesting.
it was very open ended for me.
Okay.
Like you left it free. Yeah.
No, so that's cool, because I think it's interesting that it almost seems like if I look at the majority of your other pieces are just, they don't say anything in them, mostly from what I've seen. Like
Yeah, and
this one
like
says Waco,
Waco.
and you have the Alico
Yeah.
building in the back. So I think it's cool. It's like your other ones seem like you're just kind of letting the art create itself, and you're going with it and enhancing everything that you see when you see it, maybe. And then what I
Yeah.
find interesting with this is that, you have some other inspiration, so you add. I think it's really cool how you're also able to add that and still create, which I don't know, it's amazing.
Yeah, to me,
Even
it's
the
like he's
Alico's
applying
so
his
subtly
effect.
across the
It's like
top
you're
in
applying the effect
background.
to, what they're asking. Just
Yeah.
because, for me, I see this, and everything you create, in my mind, I look at it, it's like a different world or plane of existence, or a different state of mind. It's just something you wouldn't. There's no connection to anything in the real world. So
Yeah.
it's cool though that it shows like Aaron commissioned this, and he knew he was there. I don't know. And for me, this is the first thing that I've seen of yours that has like a direct link somehow to reality.
Yeah.
Which is it's just really
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
and it shows that you're now. Dude, I think it's beautiful. Alico, I'm just curious for what that even is. That's a real thing?
The Amicable Life Insurance Company. It's the
Okay.
tallest building in Waco and has been since fucking when, Aaron? Like the 50s? It's the
No,
only
no, no,
thing
no. They
that
built it
was-
in 1911. It was the tallest
yeah.
Yeah. And the
building
statue?
west of the Mississippi. Yeah.
No, it's an insurance building.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yes, I see that. And then
No,
it
yeah,
makes me
it's-
think of the statue.
It's
If
right
this
in the
was
middle
something-
of downtown Waco.
Okay.
It survived the
So
tornado.
this is
too,
like
didn't
his
it?
mind just filtered, and then here's Waco. That's so cool.
No, that
I
was
had
the
fun
first
doing
thing
it.
I
It
noticed the
was like
Alico.
this might be the only painting I've done where it was like tied to like an actual location.
Okay.
So then like it was like, it was a good. I don't know. It was like a good challenge.
A good
to try-
exercise. Yeah.
It was. Yes. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
because you applied your craft in a different, like you had a focus, but
Yes, yeah.
that's so cool. So this is the very first time, like this
Yeah.
experience they did that. That's so cool.
Well, I mean,
I would.
no, go ahead, please go ahead.
I don't know. I would like to. I have plans. I mean, loose plans, but eventually, someday in the future, I would like to like branch out and recreate like other things like lamps and stuff like that, and other like I don't know.
Yeah.
products.
Like, how long
Yeah.
does this take you? Like for this one, I'm just curious.
I don't know. It was like a month or so.
And what did you
So
use? Like,
It took a little bit longer. I think I had other stuff going on at the time.
was that paint?
But
Uh,
also, it's like being
Like-
commissioned, getting paid. That's like a whole different level of okay.
Yeah.
Just even
Yeah.
the motivation, but it's righteous. But it's just okay. I'm put to I'm just thinking in my mind, just that going through that experience for the first time, and that,
I hate being commissioned.
I
Yeah.
love that you two captured that. That we happen to be real good friends with Aaron. I don't know. This is so interesting to me.
So, since
Thank
you
you,
both
thank you.
do, since you both do,
Hopefully it turned out.
commissions-
Hopefully it turned out well.
Dude,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
everything
The crazy
is
thing is where I have it.
No,
I have it in a spot in my house that we just so happen to have a yellow chair that's that exact same color,
Oh.
and it just
well,
goes
that's-
from the chair like straight up into the thing. He crushed it.
Oh, well, that's really cool.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and of course I'm in Waco, so it's nice to have that. And I always like doing kind of city art, so I wanted a little
Yeah.
bit of that. And I
Yeah,
asked him,
yeah.
I'm a big gardener, so I told him to throw in some stuff like that. You can see the eggplants kind of scattered
Yeah,
on the bottom,
Yeah.
like
but
a
it's
mechanical.
almost like they're worshiping something too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
no, I was just curious because something Aaron said when, like, he was talking about getting it commissioned, and since you both do like commission stuff, Aaron's like, I hate doing commission stuff. It was like he.
I hate
kinda
making
felt
money
like,
and doing what I
He kind of
love.
felt like he was throwing you a bone. Well, he kind of felt like he was throwing you a bone by giving you as little parameters as possible. It's like
Yeah.
He's an
is
artist,
that-
right? Yeah.
Because that's probably
both
how
artists.
Aaron would
Yeah.
prefer it. Is like, if you want me to do a commission, give me as little parameters as possible and let me run wild with it. Is that how you like to do it, or do you want somebody to be like, look, I really want you to tell me like what it is you want, and then I'll go wild with it.
No, I like how Aaron did it.
Okay,
Um,
yeah,
And-
Yeah.
and I kind of figured,
Yeah.
but
And I'm
I've
guessing
known
he's-
Aaron
yeah.
forever, so I know his thought process. I used to sit next to him at work and watch him just. It's like he can draw shit out of his head like I never could, and so it's
He's
like
talking
I
about
know how.
Spore.
his-
I don't know who Aaron is.
Yeah. But either way, and so it's like I can see why he would say he would like as little parameters as possible, and so why he extended that to you. I just was curious, like
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and naturally, I
also-
just wonder if you've had other commissions, like a good amount, or is
Sure,
it
he's had
regular
plenty.
thing?
Nah, it's every now and then. Like I've done, it's every now and then.
Yeah.
I've got some weird commissions though, where I'm like, where they do put a lot of parameters in it. I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
yeah,
like someone wanted me to do one of like in my style, but they want like a soldier on like the battlefield.
Like a
Like-
modern soldier.
Yeah.
Or I guess.
Yeah.
And,
he's like, and make it ultra
like, I don't know if
realistic.
and
this
put
will work.
Trump in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man.
You're like, I'm, yeah.
I would like.
I
to
turned it
commission
down.
ultra
Like this
realistic.
is, in my head I knew this is there's no way this is gonna look good.
Well, that's an
Yeah.
interesting position to be in, to have, for to just be the best to turn it down.
Well, and or
because
do
you care about
yeah.
you're not about the money and whatever you do. You have other, you have a full time job. I take it, and then this
Yeah,
is like
yeah.
your passion that you spend time doing on the side, roughly.
yeah.
Just like me in this
I mean-
podcast, or our podcast.
Well,
I
or
guess.
would you counter it
Yeah.
though too, where it's
If
like
it became
somebody,
a full time job, I wouldn't complain. But
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You love it. You do it because you have to. You're an artist. You'd be
No,
doing
and
it
yeah,
no matter what.
yeah.
that was
Exactly,
kind of what
yeah.
I asked. Would like so when somebody asks you for something like that, like do you just off top you're like, I don't think I'm going to, or would you come back and rebut? Just because you love doing it so much that it's like, I could maybe give you something like this, like not so much on this side, but this with that. It was like, you
Yeah.
negotiate with it, or is it just pretty much like this is what I want? It's like that's not really what I do.
I try to negotiate with it. Like it's hard to tell someone no at the same
Yeah.
time. Like
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
I just feel
Yeah.
like the one that you talked about having to say no to. It's like, at least I just get this feeling that it's just because this fundamentally, at no point is they're going to allow me to kind of do and be who I am with it. So it's
But
just
then
in the
you
best interest of everybody that if they're not going to let you do that, then they're not going to get a Boyko. Like, they're not going to get it, So
Yes,
it's really
exactly,
just
yeah.
best to part ways kindly. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I feel like it's because if they have like an idea in their head too of what they want it to look like, it's never going to be that. You know what I mean? Like no matter what I create, it's never going to be that thing that they have in their head that like
Yeah.
they really
Man.
connect to. Like,
Which is so great about surrealism. It's like, it's almost it wouldn't be surrealism if it was like sheer. I mean, I don't, I could just go off thinking about it.
yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, what I know with your style, it's, you can't, like when somebody comes to you, it's like, oh, I want a dragon. Like, I don't want to draw a fucking dragon. And
Yes,
it's like,
yes. Yes.
And
I want
so
some
they're
Chinese
trying to-
calligraphy.
Tell me about stuff like that. Like they want a dragon or something.
Yeah.
But I don't.
I
It's
want
not
travel.
really my thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I
And
could,
that's it. And with your style, like surrealism, like you start out with an idea and then you start letting it go. And that's where you find your real artistry. But when they try
Yeah.
to pin you down with, no, do this and then draw a soldier, it's like, I don't want to draw a soldier.
exactly. Yes, exactly. And it's like I don't want to play doing that. And it's like I don't think it's
Hell
gonna work. And it's like it doesn't. It's not like my thing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Because everybody, like you said it best. When somebody wants you to do something, they have this idea in their head, and it's like, I'm definitely not doing what you think you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Is there ever a point though too where it's like you got one that's like right on the borderline that it's like it's not really what I do, but I'd like to challenge myself and see if I can maybe get this done? Or do you just let that go?
There's been some times like that too. And it's turned out fine. I'm trying to think of a good example.
Okay, all right, we're back. We're back. Google. First of all, Matthew is we're calling Google tomorrow because they dropped our call.
Talk to which AI agent,
and I'm going to show
that
up
they've
at their
created.
front office, and there ain't going to be nothing surreal. There's going to be something surreal about these hands I throw with the Google front office
Nothing
people,
like
because I'm going to
threatening
lay a good
violence.
old country
Yeah.
ass whooping on them for cutting that off. But so I got a question. If we'll hopefully come back, we'll get back on the train of thought you were on before we got cut off. But the question I kind of have for you is, how do dreams and subconscious imagery influence like the whole creative process of what you're doing, or does it at all?
I think so. I think definitely the subconscious imagery does, because then, like, I might draw something, and then I'll think about, well, this might reference, this or this, X, Y, Z, and then that will lead me down like a rabbit hole of, drawing something else or trying to figure out how it all links together, things like that. And then that could help form like the idea for the painting.
Okay.
Yeah. So I definitely think like the subconscious like imagery helps a lot. It's definitely plays a key role, I guess, in the creative process.
Yeah, and that's like you applied that without necessarily thinking. I wanted it to represent the subconscious mind in some way. It's just that sounds like that maybe is just what's happened. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and I was going to say, is that something that you kind of identified later, how that kind of plays a role in what you're doing? Because I feel like it was funny when Matt was like describing at the beginning the description of surrealism. I'm sitting here kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, I have a feeling that you had no idea what any of that was, and none of that played a role in your doing what you do. It just so happened that you started doing it and people were like, yo, this is that.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
So you're
Like,
born natural.
That's
So
amazing.
this is what came out of
That's-
you. You're
that's
born as a
incredible.
human, and you didn't
Yeah.
really know anything about it, and it's just you started
Yeah.
art, and you are surrealist.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's
That's
cool,
pretty
man.
much-
I
yeah.
think that's so cool because it's so fascinating. I don't know. You're driven. I feel like I have to be driven. Like, and I'm driven in a certain way, but yeah, it's so cool. I don't know. Oh, yeah. I could ramble.
I feel guilty if I'm not making art.
Right. It's like what you're meant
Wow,
to do.
you say sorry, that sent me to another train of thought. You said
Yeah.
you're guilty if you're not making
He
it.
feels
Expound on
guilty.
that.
I feel like
I
if
feel
I don't
guilty.
go for a run every day, I feel like I'm, like Aaron. Do you feel
Like
the
you're
same
cheating
way?
yourself.
Aaron, as
Me
an
about
artist?
running?
No, about yes, about no art.
No, I was
like
in the army.
art.
He's like, I gave
Oh,
that up
about
years
art?
ago.
No,
Yeah.
so I'm the type of artist, and tell me how you stack up, Chris.
Yeah.
Like I'll go where I'm just doing stuff like crazy, and then I'll go for months where I don't have the slightest desire to do anything.
Oh no, I can't do that.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Explain.
it's
Explain.
yeah.
I feel like if I take a break like that, I feel like I'm gonna lose like my ability
Yeah.
to create art or something. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah. Okay.
like refining
okay.
your
I know
neural
what. So are you
pathway.
talking? You feel guilty, like you're gonna start losing skill.
Yeah.
yes, yeah, I'm gonna lose. Start
Okay.
losing-
Okay, so that's fascinating to bring
Wow.
the motivation of the guilt, I guess, because
Yeah.
okay, so you think, which is good. Everyone wants to improve, but I don't know. Kind of a comment in me and Mike, we were talking earlier, just a concept of like art itself. I was thinking, outside of art, there is good, right, and then there is like bad, wrong. But in the world
Yeah,
of
yeah.
art, there just is.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
I don't think there's good or bad, right or wrong. Outside like for people that are just genuinely doing it and not like somebody with some malicious, weird intent behind it to begin with. But like
Yeah.
what's coming out of you naturally, like in my mind, like it's not like, oh, this is better or worse. I wasn't as good here at that point in time. Like it's all pure and beautiful, and it's from my
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you couldn't
And
get
it's like-
worse in my mind, even if you thought like I don't think there's no in my mind there's no worse. It's like whatever you spit out, if you that and
That's
that's just
true.
me thinking, but
Yeah.
it's interesting, this the different way different people to think about it. It's cool.
Like,
Yeah.
I could be
And
wrong.
it's almost like
Oh, no, go
I
ahead.
don't know. I guess it's like riding a bike or something. Like you didn't ride your bike for a long time, and you just jump back on. I guess you could forget. For me, it might be roller skates instead of a bike, but still same
Yeah,
concept.
either
Yeah.
way.
It's
It's
a
like,
good
that's
analogy.
still, you're still
But
a
it-
little rusty,
yeah.
even jumping on a bike.
But and it's like in my mind, I just think even if there was like a weird, difficult period of feeling like you're as good as you were before then, and then again, it's almost like even what difference it is creating that, knowing that you had this whatever coming back to that level, I just feel like it would create a different path, not bad or different, but just be. It might be like, oh, all these pieces are a little different than before, and there's like this was me rediscovering something, and my mind just kind of went this direction this time,
Well, yeah. No,
Sorry, I
that's-
think
yeah.
crazy word. It's just like I don't think it would all be beautiful no matter what, but it's I understand being critical of yourself, which you have to be. It's weird, to have
So I
an
think-
advantage.
It is true. Yes. Well, I think we're all gonna be pretty critical of ourselves. I
Yeah,
like the idea of
we're
like,
our own worst critics.
oh yes. That is definitely true. But I like the idea of like taking a break. We talk about like, and then coming back to it, and then it forming a slightly different like variation, I guess.
That kind of like I was saying, just like
Yeah.
that'll just be. Yeah, to like, and it's good
Well-
in my mind. It's good to take a short break, but yeah, that makes sense to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
no,
It's like an offshoot, I guess, or
Exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
again, there's like a different branch. It's like
Different branch, yeah,
represents that point in time whenever he didn't do anything for a month, but you'll know deep down like that's whenever I took a break, and then it kind of
Yeah, yeah.
evolved into something different.
yeah.
So it'd be good for it's just it's I'm sorry I keep
No, you're
going
good.
on about it.
You had a question?
So-
Yeah, no, like I was just saying, it sounds to me where it's like where Aaron was asking, it's like, do you draw all the time? Like Aaron, I think is the type that it's like he gets that fucking inspiration or whatever, and he gets some ideas in his head, and he has to get them out, and it's like, so you'll go real fucking hard for a real long time and just pump out a ton of shit that's like real intricate, real crazy, that it's like I just got these ideas I got to get out. But it sounds like Chris, what you're doing is more of like, not like a volume mentality, but just like a little bit every day, and you're honing that neural pathway and trying to refine it as much as you can, and just trying to get reps. Even if I'm not working on anything specific, I'm just sitting here doodling on something while I'm working,
Yeah,
And I know
yeah.
Aaron does that too, but like, as far as like artistic, like the way you two look at it. Aaron has an idea he needs to get out, whereas like you look at it very much like I'm actually refining this specific skill or this skill at any given time.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
That
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Awesome. I have that's a good question because I mean it makes a lot of sense to like help get kind of an understanding as to you know
because
like
everybody's
Chris said,
different.
yeah,
Like you don't like you're never gonna if you want to get good at it. It's like you know you could go about it like Aaron does, where it's like, dude, I'm just gonna sit down and I'm gonna draw on shit for fucking 6 hours, you know. And or it's like I'm just gonna do this every few minutes, or I'm gonna microdose it or macrodose it, basically. So there's no wrong way to go about it. It's like just do it.
No, there really isn't. I know people do both ways pretty much, or or some combination in between. Like I feel like there's a like a wide variety of like I don't know people's creation process.
Yeah,
Which I always find
everybody's
really interesting.
yeah.
What about you, Aaron? What do you say about that? What do you have to say about that? That was a direct attack against your artistic style by me.
Yeah. Who knows? But I know Mikey wanted to ask something.
Yeah, so my question was I've seen that there's been some crossover between other people who've done surrealism and stuff like that, and just from having followed other artists' work, I see that they eventually kind of go outside of the scope they do. But in regards to what you're doing surrealism, and my question is, I've seen some other surreal artists who've also done sculptures and sculpting things. Is that something that interests you or that you're involved with, or have you already done?
So I just experimented with sculpting a candle recently.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I saw something. I saw that online somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. So my wife has candles all over the place. So I was like, I'm gonna sculpt one of these. Like, might as well try it. I had the tools.
The husband of a candle maker.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So I sculpted it, and I thought, like, so here's my thought process with it. If I did more of it, it's something where it looks, it's definitely interesting to look at. However, someone could also melt it.
Yeah.
And there's also like, it's kind of like that
melt it
gimmicky part of it with melting it in a way. They kind of like, I don't know. You hear, when you think of the standard surrealism stuff, like, you think of stuff melting.
The clocks, right?
And
Yeah. So it's like, if you were thinking of it from like it definitely is cool. Like, I enjoy doing it. But if you were thinking like outside of it, like from I don't know, like a marketing perspective or something, I feel like the little gimmick aspect of it would like,
it would make it not surreal. There's like not a way to but I don't know.
I think what I was gonna say is that it's like what's cool about something like that is you even having the idea to sculpt a candle is there's so many things that I didn't know you had done that, and so for me it's like already hearing that, and like you said, something like that, I feel like people are going to add so much meaning and their own meaning to it that maybe you do or don't intend. And I'm sure that happens with your own artwork in its own way. But I think like with you said, with the candle, it has so many different meanings too, to where if you created a super cool sculpted candle to where it's like, yo, a person's faced with a decision. Do you burn this thing? And you risk, quote, ruining it, or do you burn it and it becomes something better, and it's a whole part of, because everything's going to fade and go away eventually.
Or in my mind, there's no right, wrong, bad, or worse. Like,
or at the risk
whatever it is.
Or at the risk of giving you a really great business decision. Could you sell them
keep it as keep it intact, or you could melt it and see what happens.
And then it'll be just an evolved piece of it.
And
maybe
could
you could even layer it.
Could you sell them a candle that you had already done? Once they burn it and melt it, send it back, and I'll resculpt you another one.
Well, that's actually a really good idea. Yeah.
That's why I said at risk of giving away a really good business idea. There you go.
I guess you've got a very similar situation to him.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm
and your name is Chris, so who knows?
Same thing.
So I gotta ask you something. Man.
Yeah.
So, say you're doing a painting, it's not a commission, you're just inspired, because like I get inspired. I don't think like I have to deliver something. I just want to draw. So that's when I go at it. So when you're not commissioned, you're just like, oh, I want to do something. Can you walk us through, like, all right, you did a sketch of some stuff. Can you just walk us through the whole process to the end painting?
Yeah. So, like I have an idea. I go like the very first layer is like just thin down paint with turpentine. I'm just like blocking in like the basic shapes and like the colors. So I'm like,
Yeah. So almost like
alright,
you just finished this one. Sorry. So if you're like even
yeah,
talking through this as like if you want to as a
yeah,
reference.
yeah. So like like I'm looking at this one like, all right, so I know the sky's gonna be blue. The figure is gonna be orange. Um, like the green part is like a light. So like, all right, that's gonna be green. So I block in the colors for that stuff. I put in like the general shapes, and then once that dries, once all of the first layer dries, then I go back and I do the actual like painting on it. So I start with the I always start with whatever like furthest away the painting. So I started with the sky, and then I kind of work my way forward, and then the last thing I always paint would be the figure, like the most important part. And then the reasoning for that is, as you're working on it, usually the artwork gets better as you're going along.
Right.
So it's like you don't want to do the most important thing first because that's probably not going to look as good as the rest of it. As you go
That's
along.
what I've been
Yeah.
screwing up all along.
But now I just
preached
now I
to
just
me.
realized most of your stuff you pick it's like
No,
two
and
color
it's-
based.
Well, and
It
it's
seems
Yeah,
like there's
yeah.
there's like two colors, and so that's fascinating me. So it's like I
well, or it
because if
seems
you look, I'm like
too-
that's cool.
I do a very limited color palette too. Like it's usually just like 3 colors, and then from there you can kind of mix colors together
It's almost like
within
those are
those.
the most driving element in a weird way in my mind. Even though just
Yeah,
the surrealism thing about mind and color, just okay, mom, put these two colors together, and this is what my brain comes up with.
yeah.
I
I mean, I would say color plays a pretty important role in my work.
What? Just as a non-artist, like I'm curious, like, but I've loved the idea of just playing with paint on canvas and things like that.
Yeah.
I assume you're working with just typical paints and things like that, right?
Yeah,
Oil.
Okay.
yeah, oil paints.
Oil
yeah.
paints.
And they
Okay.
never dry, right? Is this the one that never dries and just?
Yeah, it takes a minute for it to dry.
Yeah.
But it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Do you now with these types of paints? Do you? And again, this is just from a non-artist perspective, just a layman. But do you have to go in and do you do like a white primer on the canvas before you start, or
Oh,
do you
yeah,
just do?
yeah.
What's your process when you get just a normal? Do you brush it off? Do you
Yeah,
take a
like,
cloth? Do you
prepping.
clean it? Do you? I'm
So-
curious. I have no idea, but I imagine I know about like painting cars and doing other stuff that like there's so much prep that goes in before you even
yeah,
put
that
a
it's
brush
like,
on
if you want
it.
it to lay down properly.
Oh, yeah,
you need
yeah,
the
so I'll
prep.
do,
It's all in the prep.
I'll put the primer on the canvas. I do like 3 coats of primer. So like, but in between each coat, I sand it down.
Yep.
You're not
Nice.
sniffing the primer, are you?
You should if you haven't.
Yeah, no, you
Yeah,
do it
yeah.
in
Yeah,
a
that's
closed
like,
space. You
pre-made
tape off
painting.
the
Yeah.
bends.
So you say you do 3 coats, and in between coats, so you do let
You
each.
hang out in
Do
the
you
room.
let each one of them dry and then sand it, or do you apply 3 and then sand?
So that's
No,
like a
I-
plan
Sand
of final
between
step.
each. No, that's
I
the
sand
first.
between each coat.
That's
Interesting.
Oh,
before
wow.
he ever lays down.
Yeah.
paint, is what
So,
he's
and
saying.
about how long does it take you to dry? But I know this might be stupid. It might be on an instruction manual, but also too, I understand
It's the
that
Surrealist
the may.
official
I
book.
understand that
it's
the
more
way
like
that
painting,
things
just
break
things
down
on
on a on what they recommend might not also be what is people have found to be efficient. So I'm curious: what do you wait times between your primer?
The primer dries really fast for me.
Okay.
And I don't know if part of it's maybe because of the humidity here. as
Yeah.
Oh,
well.
Georgia humidity. Yeah. I was about to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
It's probably comparable to
Yeah.
ours down here.
Yeah, so like it
Um,
dries pretty fast, and I paint like my art studio is pretty much just the garage. Like
Yeah.
we have like it's like a
Most humid
backspace
place
in the
house.
yeah, it's like in the garage. There's a I guess maybe it was intended for storage when they built the house.
Okay.
Maybe it's like additional like slab in back, and like I pretty much turned that into my art studio. I installed some lights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it works. Yeah, it works fine,
It's your
but
own
it does
studio.
get humid.
Yeah, it's your own home studio, but Yeah, and I was curious because so we were talking kind of about the process, referencing this piece, and I think we'd gotten to the colors, and then it's good to go off rabbit trails. So yeah, if you can continue kind of the process from beginning to end, I think we just got into where you pick the colors, and then I think talking through just the creation of this piece, just like if you were just. Yeah.
And the important piece was the last piece, I think is where you ended.
Yeah, and do you have an idea of that piece going in? Or is that something that last piece just comes to you as you're doing it? It's like that's why you save that focal point.
I would say, yeah, it kind of like, some of it is, I don't know, whenever you put it down on the canvas, I think like, it looks different compared to like when you're sketching it out in some ways.
Yeah.
I think like you kind of make some I definitely make some changes to it once it's on the canvas.
Okay.
Kind of like well, this focal point it kind of looks a little bit better over here than over here,
Yeah. Interesting. But so going back to just talking us through this piece, we won't interrupt you. Sorry. So from beginning to end, you can just go through the process.
So like first, get the canvas, you put the primer on it. That takes, I usually wait a day or two for the dry between and that's with, the 3 coats. So each coat takes, I don't know, not too long, a few hours. I usually wait a few hours, just be safe.
You just never want to rush it.
Yeah. And then I do what's called the underpainting, which is the thin down paint with the turpentine. So I'll do that first. Kind of block everything in, just pretty much just like a map, create like a map of the painting, kind of get the layout of everything, and then from there I'll start putting down actual paint. I work from the back and then work forward. So start with where's furthest away, like the sky, and then move forward from within the painting, from background to foreground. Pretty much.
There's a journey from there to here.
It gets more and more
clear,
all the way. It's that's why I asked if the focal point is in mind at the beginning, because it's like
you're on a journey as you're doing
nothing into slowly forming into something, and then right there in the very front, like you said you did it last, is it's it just really pops. It's extremely noticeable when you describe it.
And I definitely will try to make sure that stuff stands out, and even the color, when I'm thinking of color, I think of the color of the focal point is going to be, and the colors around it, how that's going to make it pop out.
That's cool. But so I think you're saying, so you started with the sky, so now continuing, I guess, so just the process of, so I think that's where you're at. You start with the furthest thing. So with this piece, you started there, and then what was and
then from there, it was the green sections, in back, which is a light. And the whole idea with this one is it's an empty theater. So you have the light coming down the stage, and then
almost like a circus tent in the back. The green points. That's kind of cool.
And there's a bunch of chairs. So then I started painting the chairs and kind of blending them.
So these are chairs.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Gotcha. Yeah. Keep going. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And they're kind of blended in with the light in the back, like the circus tent, and then as it comes forward, they get more defined. So then I start painting each one individually, and then you have the figure up top as well. So that was done last.
So
what is that figure? What does that represent? Where's your mind at when that thing comes out?
So I was almost thinking of like a reflection of one's mind on a stage, and the whole idea was so you have the window, and the window the window is a two-way perspective, because it's you can look through it and the other person on the other side can look through it, so that's 2 ways. And then you have the face, which is a single perspective, because only you can see through your your
so
own
that
eyes.
Face is looking back at you.
Yeah. And then there's a speaker up top, which would be the speaker would be your thoughts playing. So if you're at the head there, and then your thoughts would play through the speaker.
Holy shit!
And is this like a bike wheel?
Memories.
It's like the reel.
It's like a
the
window.
film reel.
So it's
or-
like-
So that's the
Yeah,
window. Okay.
it's like a film reel.
I feel like this is, in my mind, I was thinking this here is also window, at least in my interpretation.
So that's a film. Is that a film reel though? That
Yeah.
thing? Is that what that's supposed to be?
It's
Like,
like-
it's
Yeah, it's like a film reel, but also kind of like a window.
okay.
I kind of
Okay.
yeah.
Man, this is
Yeah, so yeah, you work your way back here, you get to this point, and then so, how did you end up? Yeah, just continue the journey.
And then so once all that dries, then I go back and add transparent layers of paint on top of it.
Ah,
You use mostly like oil, like you got like your oil medium, and then it would seem like you're diluting the paint, but you're actually making the paint thicker because of the oil. So it's more.
you're
basically-
diluting the color.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's how you get it so like almost chalky looking because it almost
Transparent,
looks
like-
like it almost looks like you laid that shit out with chalk. But when you talk about
Yeah.
using like turpentine and shit, it's like you're really only using the same 3 colors the whole time. You're just diluting those same 3 colors.
yeah.
So there's
Oh,
no
cool.
yeah,
Okay, I
so
didn't
the
know that.
gradient
That's
is
cool.
perfect
That's
all
cool.
the way.
So you got
That's
here and you're
awesome.
kind of doing that part of the process, and then once that's done, you can keep working through the journey on this piece.
Yeah. That's pretty much finished. Once I do that, so it's like, and then when I'm doing like the transparent layers of paint, it's almost like I'm in some ways you're making some like, I see it as like refining the painting, in a way. So
Okay.
like, I'm like thinking like, oh well, this section I need to be a little bit darker, or a little bit more vibrant, or push back in the distance more, whatever.
Yeah.
So then I can kind of make those adjustments with the transparent layers of paint, and it's kind of helps. I don't know. I feel like it helps build up the colors too. In a lot of ways.
This is
Yeah.
why you go to
No,
art
no,
And I
school,
gotta
kids.
tell you, if you haven't seen one of these paintings, they're huge.
dude.
Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is it,
So
like
right,
a-
so I can kind of.
I
So
mean,
here's the easel, but what's the dimensions on this?
Yeah.
This one's 30 by 40.
Yeah.
30
Ones
by
you have
40?
huge.
Pictures
36 by
hardly
48 though.
pictures
larger.
hardly do your work
It
justice.
justice.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the one
Well,
that-
Well, you've
that
seen it,
because
Mikey.
Aaron-
I know
I
you've
was-
seen it,
yeah.
Mikey.
I was
We've
just
both
about to
seen
say,
that.
when I had a chance to go out to his house recently, he immediately was like, I was walking around, he's like, oh yeah, here's Boyko.
Yeah,
I was
it
like,
was the
oh
first
my
thing
God.
he
Like the
showed
layers
us.
and
It was
stuff
the
create
first
a
thing he showed
texture.
us when we walked in. He was
It's
like,
like-
"I got this piece commissioned."
So I mean,
It's
yeah, it's
fucking
like
dope,
seeing
bro.
him in person. you
There's
know,
a
it's-
little
they are.
3D, a
It's-
subtle 3D element to it in a way.
And
because
since
Yeah,
it's
you
person,
can't-
you
it's
just have
not-
to look at it.
Yeah, it's not just totally a 3D.
so it
element.
literally you can't capture the magic of the experience unless
No.
you see it in person. Like this is what it sounds like.
And like, I've been talking to my wife about this a lot. It's like, how do we capture this on camera to make it look for people to fully see
The
it?
best, the closest to being there, and that's a fascinating thing. I don't know
You
if
can't, man. You can't.
Yeah, I know you can't, but he's just talking about how close can you get. I don't know if you've done like video, like you have pictures, but just the highest definition video of you just walking up to it and just like going around it and literally just the experience, like creating the experience of a person walking into a room and
Yeah.
seeing it in a short video. Maybe, I don't know. It's just a thought. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've done that sort of thing.
I think Mikey had a question.
Y'all think?
Give it, next to something to give it size comparison.
It's just,
because like
the
where I have it in
perspective.
my
I'm walking
walls,
into a room
it's
and
big,
I'm observing
yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it in in my mind, just like literally the perspective of a person. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that,
probably,
yeah. What have you been thinking? So you say you've been talking to your wife. So what's that like? What have your thoughts been?
Well, the scanner scanning them.
Shit, I'm
well,
trying to think of a scanner that would scan, like how you'd even scan.
You have to be a very large scanner, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, and if there's any risk of it, somehow messing up, or I guess if it becomes something new, it still is. But as far as your intention here, if it would damage the end product you wanted,
I think you'll be fine. I
Yeah.
think. I guess I'll read up on more.
Yeah. So
Well,
so that's one thought you had. Was there not any other one? As far
What
as
if I open like a real bed and breakfast or something?
oh yeah, that just gets people to experience it. That
Yeah.
it just that's actually a really cool idea. Just because a lot of people, there are obviously people who love surrealism, so they want to look for it. But then there's people who's maybe never in their life really seen this or casually to where oh, it's a bed and breakfast. Come here. It's like, did you notice that art on the wall? That's so fascinating. And they'd be asking you about it. That's cool.
This is kind of like a side, I don't know, thing. But have you ever heard of Meow Wolf before?
Yes, they
Yep.
just opened
Yes.
one in Dallas. It was originally
Dallas,
like
yeah.
Colorado and Denver.
So
And then-
so I just went on vacation to Denver last
Yes.
week. We went to Meow Wolf, and that is like a fully like immersive experience.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm about to look it up.
Absolutely.
Meow
Easy
Wolf.
Yeah.
Immersive
Wolf.
art experience.
Totally. Yeah, and there's like you can solve something. You can spend as much time in there as you'd like.
Oh wow.
You can literally
So
spend
you just
like,
did this?
Yeah, we were just there last week.
Oh,
It's
shit, we got one in
insane.
Grapevine.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
Just
there's
say
one
they
there.
just
open
No, I'm
one out
sorry.
now.
Yeah, you said that. I'm sorry. I was just
Um,
trying to get this.
So
up here.
I have a question. I have a couple of them that have popped up, and I want everybody to get their
Yeah.
questions in. And hopefully, do you have a little bit more time?
Oh yeah, as much time as y'all.
drinking
Okay,
beer, bro.
Okay, cool, man. So yeah, I know everybody's got questions that are popping up as you're talking because honestly, like we find you quite fascinating,
Dude,
Find you quite fascinating. If I'm being 100% honest, and we
yeah,
appreciate
I could
all
talk
the
to you
time
all
you're
night.
giving us.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So a question I kind of had was like, how would you balance like your like personally expressing your art while also, it's like keeping in mind like the viewer's interpretation of your work? Does that play any kind of a role, or was that, I don't know.
Yeah, somewhat, because sometimes trying to think of the best way to put it. It
That's
does I think about it to a certain extent, but I don't worry about it too much. But I do think, well, if this is here or this looks like this, people are going to take this wrong way, or they're going to think of this.
Yeah. It's in the back
completely
of your mind, and it's there, but it's not something you think you've considered that, and but it doesn't really affect
way.
the outcome. But it is a thought
Yeah.
though, that you've considered, which is interesting because I know there are probably some people who don't even care about what the viewer might experience. So it's interesting. Every artist is different. So that is at least a thought that you had, which is fascinating.
Oh yeah. Because in some ways,
I get it because I make weird things, but I can consider that this is a representation of you still at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right?
And I don't know, I've kind of come to terms with I can't really control how people are going to interpret it.
Yeah.
That's part.
But at
of
the same time, there are some things where it's all right, clearly if they look at this.
Yeah, I mean,
probably
I can make up things looking at this, but I'm not going to. But it's for this stupid, it's
Yeah.
everyone's perspective is gonna see something different no matter what.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess yeah.
But that's
That's
that thought's there, it exists, but it doesn't really, whatever the effect subtly, whatever it doesn't matter. This is,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a cool question, Mikey.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was there anything else that I know that you specifically wanted to get on?
This could be somewhat jumping ahead to this is kind of a question I'd ask in the end, but I know
When
I
are
have
you
a
gonna
bunch of
die? No, I'm
questions.
sorry.
But my question for you would be,
Really jumping ahead,
would
Mikey.
you want to know if you could?
my question would more or less be, it's like, do you have? It seems like you've kind of just found your niche, you know what I mean? But it was something that came natural to you, and it just so happened that there was also already a community of what people were like, yo, this is what you're doing. Is there any thing you would recommend or any words of advice you could give to maybe people that are struggling to find their niche, or artists that, because my aunt she painted all the time, but she never put her stuff out there, and I thought it was great, but she never would. And it was I just didn't know if you had any kind of, thoughts on that, about how do you do that or overcome that cold feet or whatever.
I think you really just have to do it. I think you just have to jump in. I think whatever you think people are going to say about it, if you think people are going to, hate on it or something, they're probably not. It's not going to be they're not going to be as critical as you think they are. I think a lot of times you will, especially nowadays with the internet, you'll find there will be someone out there who likes it,
Yeah, and then there'll be people out there who think and whatever, goes
When it-
both
Oh,
ways.
yeah. Yeah.
Tony Romo had a quote.
'Cause,
one
there have been
time that was,
definitely
"You're
plenty of
never
people
as
who
good
didn't
as
like
they
my
say you
artwork."
are, and
But
never
then
as
there are
bad
people
as
who
they say
you
you
do
are."
as well. So You know,
You get haters? Do you really get haters?
there's some, yeah.
I feel like it's
Really?
because they're
what-
jealous.
How do they? How
It's
does that
because they're
work?
jealous.
Just people who are like, they, they're into like super realism, and like they think if it's not super
People
realism,
gonna hate
then
no
it's
matter
not
what.
art.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah, where it's
Like,
if it's
yeah,
not within these parameters,
Or,
it's
And
or
not.
if they're jealous, any reason, but no matter what. But it is interesting because I
Yeah.
feel like the ratio for you is got to be pretty small for people who outright say they don't like it.
I'm sure they're, yeah.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
they
there's
exist, but to be
one.
vocal
What do
about
they-
it,
what-
you know,
what do
it's
they-
like
Yeah.
they're fascinated by no matter what. They might
What
not
is-
like it, but it's so interesting. Just like, I mean,
What is it that
Yeah.
that
And
somebody that's
I don't know if
into realism
anyone's
can
really. I mean,
criticize somebody on?
unless it's something that's like, I don't know, they find it like super offensive. I don't think most people are going to be vocal about it.
yeah.
With any type of art or whatever you do.
You do this for you. Like, you could die and these would all be sitting in a room. Like, I just did them. There just happens to be a way to share them, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. But I know a lot of people out. Like I met a lot of people, and they all who are, I don't know, they're scared to like share their stuff.
kind
And
of comes back to his question about,
Yeah.
even the creative process, just that fear. There's some element of fear, but you got over it. So, yeah, there's, like, I guess, Mikey, is there, yeah, if someone is really just to cross that threshold, I mean, yeah, is there anything in mind that did you face it at one point, and when you're young, you did it, but like, how might someone do that,
so like in art school, like we had critiques every 2 weeks. So I think that also, in a way, it kind of desensitizes you because like you're just used to it.
Yeah, you grew up in
And
the
the
environment there, so it's kind of you can't really come
Yeah.
from the perspective of somebody jumping into it. Say if Mikey wanted to jump into it and try to start doing it in his 30s. It's
Yeah.
you never so this is something I was thinking it through. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and like with the critiques, like it's the feedback's really helpful, and like there's not like, no one's they're giving you constructive criticism and stuff like that. So, I mean, in that sense, it's really beneficial.
Yeah.
And I think one thing to think about, well, like if you're scared to put stuff, your stuff out there, I guess don't take it too harshly if people don't like it for whatever reason.
Yeah. Just go and
take it.
accepting it. Know that it's gonna happen. And just be
Yeah,
emotionally
it's-
just acknowledge that people are gonna hate no matter what. So I'm prepared for that.
Yeah, and don't beat yourself up over it if someone gets says whatever about it. Like, just accept it and kind of keep moving on, keep doing your own thing.
Just gotta
I feel like
keep
a
on
lot of
keeping
time-
on.
Keep on keeping
Yeah.
on.
I think all of us kind of have our own, gut instincts that kind of tell us, what probably looks good or what looks bad in some sense. Like,
Yeah. Well, so I saw you were in a book, right? At least one book, some Sand Hills
Yeah.
thing there, and so yeah, I'm curious just about
Yeah.
that. If that's the only book you've been in, where else you might be, and then why they selected, or if they selected the pieces, or if you got to choose what went in there.
so like I'll do like these like call for artist submissions where like, let's say they're looking for artwork for the cover of a book. I'll submit the artwork that I want that'll be in there.
Yeah.
they choose,
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like this
Yeah.
one here, looking at this book. So you submitted this piece, and this is what they put in here. It
Yeah,
says for
yeah.
Sand Hills magazine. Okay.
Yeah, and then they'll like, I think they'll like pair up like the poem or whatever it is, the short story with the picture.
Did
What
you
they
write
think-
the short story?
Oh no.
Okay, cool. So they got connected. Okay, so they take your work, someone else paint.
Yeah.
Hopefully
yeah,
they're an
they
artist. I
pair 'em
take
up.
it there's some art critic or something. Whoever it is, they got to. Obviously, it's a publication that's considering the artistic merit of it. So yeah.
Yeah. They'll pair it up and all that.
How
Um,
does it? I'm sorry if I'm going off question here, interrupting in any way. But
No.
how does it feel to kind of to get the feedback you get, positive feedback, like to see other people react the way they? I mean, I'm like us or other people like Aaron hitting you up, being like, "Hey man, can you paint this for me?" I mean, what does that feel like for you? Is it kind of surreal? I mean,
Yeah, it is because like you never expect, like, I don't know, I don't want to say like, to like have your thing like take off, but like
Yeah.
I don't necessarily say I've like taken off, but to see other people appreciate it and like take interest in it is definitely surreal and like I don't
Yeah.
know.
In social media, so the fact that in what I try and remember to do is whenever I put something up is disable the like count for others so that no one else sees it and just that so that doesn't have any impact on the viewer whatsoever. But so personally, obviously I know you go in there and you can see your like counts. Is that
I didn't know you could turn. I didn't know you could turn off your like counts.
Oh yeah, so to hide it for others, but not so
Yeah,
obviously.
Me
Yeah, I can
either.
show you, but so obviously you see yours in because I mean whatever it is that we put out there, it's
Yeah.
a whole different thing, and nothing is intricate. This, but that just psychologically, like, is that really? Do you look at it? What's the impact there?
Nah,
If there is
I
one,
don't.
there might not be,
I've
but
thought of that.
that's
I've definitely
good. Then
thought about
awesome.
it. Like,
Hopefully, I didn't plant a seed at all.
no, no, no. That's something I definitely thought about. I was like, wow, this one got a lot of likes and this one didn't.
Yeah, no.
I
So
think,
I'll see. So I'll show you. You can keep going, but I go to my profile and
but
how to
like,
do that. Let's see.
I
So
think part it could be like time of day and stuff like that. But like, I don't. I try not to really focus on that too much.
Yeah. So if you go into like something you've made, and there's a little
Yeah.
ellipsis menu, so you can go to hide like count to others, or even turn off commenting. So
Oh,
so yeah. So you can
I
hide.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. Hopefully it's this because I just know. As an artist of whatever we do, it's there's I know that there's some psychological impact on the viewer, whether that's negligible or not, who knows? But I just want to remove, in my mind, I like removing that from the
Remove it.
equation. At
Yeah, yeah,
least that's my position on just they created that there. Okay, yeah. If I wanted someone to experience this without it potentially being tainted whatsoever, subconsciously by a number, I'm gonna take that out.
yeah,
Like that's so
yeah.
that's how you do it. Yeah.
Because I definitely think if you see that, one person like it, I think other people just jump on the bandwagon and like it as
And they
well.
start so yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had a question. It's like, do you find that there, and this might be, I don't know. Do you find that there are any like recurring symbols in your work and what you're doing, and do they represent any part of you or no? I mean, is that
Yeah, but then so like I feel like I go through these like I don't know, like these stages or phases or something where like I'll start incorporating like a reoccurring thing, like food, for example. But then I'm like, well, I don't want all these paintings that have food in it. So then it's like I'm trying to like I'll fight with myself about like not incorporating it and trying to think of like different like alternative route to get the message across or what I'm trying to create. So like I'm sure and so I'm sure it represents something about myself. I can't think of what like a certain
You're
example,
hungry.
but like I'm sure
Yeah.
it does.
Man, so I know, man. I always talk to you as long as humanly possible. Like I'd like to talk to you some more. Like more. I just know I don't know what your time it is. I know I'm coming up against
Yeah.
a deadline of sorts. Otherwise, I would talk to you as much as possible. But yeah, I just man, everything.
I mean,
Well,
so
I'll tell you
fascinating.
what. Tell us this before we kind of wrap
No,
up
yeah,
here,
each
I
of us
guess.
share our insights.
yeah.
I wanted to share like,
But just like, how do you
go.
how do you put yourself out there? So I know as an artist, and I'm nothing like you. I'm not like a serious artist. It's a
Yeah.
hobby for me. It'd never
nice,
be a
yeah.
job. But for
Yeah, yeah.
somebody who's wanting to get out in the art world, you went to school for it, you take it seriously. How do you even get yourself out there?
So if you like just Google like call for artists, you'll find all these different websites for people looking for artists for exhibitions. And pretty much you'll just follow whatever their submission process is. So that's one way of getting yourself out there. You can create like your own website using like Weebly or other like Weebly, Wix, Squarespace is one. Any of those free website makers works. Social media and all that. But I think like getting out like physically first, in person, like I think that going to like the call artist websites and finding these, these exhibitions is definitely like
So
really
physically,
beneficial.
actually going somewhere and getting into the network of it, kind of.
Yeah,
Sounds like.
yeah. And I'm sure like every place has probably their local galleries and whatnot. And if it seems like a good fit for you and all that, like I'm sure you can also probably show there as well.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. So, Mikey, did you have any like key insights or questions you wanted to ask
Let
for?
y'all go ahead.
I feel like mine's good. I mean, Chris, is there one last thing or anything you wanted to ask him, or some insight you feel like you gained from hearing everything he just said?
No,
My name's
enjoyed-
Chris. I get it.
just enjoyed listening to your process and stuff. That's really dope, bro. Like, it's neat, like, just to hear about the way, like you said, where you start out with your couple of basic colors and you work from the back forward and you slowly dilute it. Don't necessarily have your idea. That's what
It's
your
literally a
focal point
journey,
gonna
which
be.
is it's cool to know
it's-
that.
Yeah, that's really dope. Like, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. Like the way you do it, it's like because I feel like kind of like what Aaron said. I always kind of did the opposite of that, where it was like I would start
at the
focal
end
point
and
in
reverse
mind,
engineer
and then
everything
how
else.
do you fucking make the filler? And it's like, no, actually,
That's
the
why most of
filler-
them are
the
unfinished.
filler-
So that's cool. So
filler
yeah,
comes
and
easy.
my
Yeah.
interpretation is
that's
like it's a
just
journey.
really dope.
Like you're getting to see
Yeah.
what you made along the journey of creating it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
at least your process. So yeah, that's and I don't think I have any. My question is everything that we've talked about and more, but I'm just thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
This
for
is
real,
so cool.
bro. Like,
Yeah.
it's been
Um,
awesome.
I'm having a blast talking to y'all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man. Honestly, if I'm being honest, to kind of wrap
He only
things up
charges
and whatnot.
about what $50 an hour to talk to people.
Shut
Okay.
up. to kind of wrap things up, man. If I'm being honest, and
Yeah.
and this
The
will
box
also
says hi.
be
Sorry
this
to
will
meet your
be
cat.
this will be a goodbye, but also to an invitation because I feel like we need a part two.
Till next time.
No, I feel
Yeah.
like we need a part two with
Yeah.
Chris here because
Yeah,
it's
for
like
sure.
we've got.
Go way in
That's
I
what I'm
feel
saying,
like
it's not a goodbye.
we've just kind of scratched the surface. I feel like with his work and what he's doing and the things. Because I also want to ask, like, before we go, I want you to answer this question. I'll go ahead and say it now. Is there anything
yeah.
you want to plug later that you're working on or want to kind of let
Where can
people
people
know
find
about?
your
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah,
Instagram,
where,
any
all of
your
that.
art.
Well, I'm gonna
Yeah,
share all that stuff. I know. But,
No, but is there
Yeah.
anything that you have that you're working on or that's coming up that you'd like people to know about or kind of raise awareness about?
I'll be posting a new painting soon. So that'll be you'll see
Awesome.
that online in the next few days.
online. So
Besides that-
where's that go first? Like Instagram,
Oh.
or is there like a special
Yeah.
place?
Yeah, check it out. It'll be on Instagram first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just stay, and I'll be sharing your Instagram, your website, and all that stuff on and
Okay.
our video.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so to get to see the latest, there's that. So, but
Okay.
yeah, if so I think
Yeah, so I was just gonna say again, man, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. This has been really incredible. Just getting, in my mind, I mean, I see no difference, between you and Salvador Dali, Magritte, all these other people,
Thank
and I know it might be, you may see.
completely agree.
You see me as a total layman, things like that. But I mean, there's so many people I see you comparable to, and just like to me, it's right up there with them. And
Yeah,
There's things that people call art in the
like-
modern day that it's like that's not art.
yeah. I feel
what
like
you
if
do
you
is
see
art.
an
Like-
encyclopedia and the word surrealism is, that one of your paintings should be there.
Yeah.
Like, because
Thank you.
that's
Thank you.
in my mind. This is the most surreal I've seen of anything, and I love it. I
Yeah.
Oh,
I
thank you.
can't get enough of it.
and
yeah.
thank you to Aaron. I'll let you close this
Yeah,
out,
he's our
Boyko, with your
connector.
comment. But thank you to Aaron first of all for number one introducing us to
Yep.
this amazing human being.
So I can kick him out of the
and
party
showing
now.
Us,
Let's see.
showing us his art, and thank you for being the first person to say, "Hey, man, I'd like to pay you to make something."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a magical connection that brought us to where we are in this moment, and we're just thankful for everyone and every part of it. But I know Potato, we didn't get to meet your cat. This is our standard pug. They say goodbye, and it was
pretty much the standard.
they act like a cat,
He's out
but
in the hallway right now. He
uh,
joined for a second. He joined for a second when we disconnected.
Of course,
Oh.
of course, they
Well,
knew.
Chris-
He did. It was epic.
Well, Chris, man, it's
No, but I'll just say, yeah. I'll just say, man. There's 4 artists that I've bought from, and I'm very particular. One's like a Cubist artist. Yeah, one's a Cubist artist. One's like a realist, surrealist, and then one is yours. And yeah, you got something, man. And when I saw yours, I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then at the time when I checked the prices, I was like, oh my god, like I'm gonna get like 7 of these.
No,
When I saw how
and it
big they
really
were, it
is
was like,
from
I'm
a
gonna
third
get 2 of
party.
them.
It's in one of the most prominent
No, but-
places in his house. Like when
Yeah, I'll tell you
from
what, man,
somebody
like,
that's not him.
it's big, it's bold,
And he
it's
shows
like
it to
in-
everybody when they walk in.
Yes.
He's like,
Oh,
check
yeah.
this
Whip
out.
it. You can't not see it.
You can't not see it there. Yeah, I know,
I
I'm sorry.
instantly whip it up.
I know, I'm sorry. You just took me there, but yeah. So that's any parting wisdom or anything else you want to say, Chris, before we have to say till next time, because I'd like to not say it's a goodbye, but I'd like to stay in touch definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Just, like I
sure.
said, we'll just stay in touch for sure. But any last parting words at all about anything you'd like to share?
I mean, I've had a blast doing this. But this has been a ton of fun. Like, I'm always down to hang out and talk.
Yeah,
Whenever
it's
what, just
awesome.
really about anything, Like,
No, definitely. If okay, you put yourself out there like that.
Yeah,
we'd have you on there to talk just to
we're gonna have you in here talking about weird shit.
weird shit,
UFOs,
weird
and
movies.
aliens.
You're gonna be
Just
our
get
resident
just your
art
perspective,
expert.
and you just happen to be a
I'm cool
surrealist.
with that.
I mean,
Cool,
Yeah.
man.
I'm cool with becoming a friend.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it sounds like I don't. It's to connect.
I think we are friends.
Connecting
Yeah.
on something this unique automatically just connects you on so many levels. I feel like
Saying
so.
shit like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes you not friends, but I think we are
I'm
friends.
sorry,
No,
yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, but Chris, man, thank you so much for being here. Like, this is
real,
awesome.
bro.
And until, like you said, this isn't goodbye. It's just until next time, which it's got to be before the
See you
year's
tomorrow.
over. We'll see you before the year's over, man. Best wishes to
Next
you,
time,
your
bring
wife,
beer
your
from the
family.
start.
Thank
And,
you.
Thank you so much again for being here, man. And we can't wait to have you back just to casually hang out with us.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you to everyone else.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you,
yeah,
sir.
that's Mikey and I'm me, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know if
Mikey.
you pointed out.
I've been following you on Instagram since Aaron. I have a
So-
random name, and I've been
And that's
following
also
you.
Chris.
So I love your work, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mikey, Matthew, Chris, Aaron, and
Same name. You've got a great name.
Yeah, it's nice meeting everyone.
Chris is
Yeah.
a great name.
It's a
You
bit-
should
it's a
keep it
beautiful name.
forever.
Awesome.
It is.
Well,
all right, buddy.
You're the
Well,
best
I
people
guess
are
we'll,
named Chris.
yeah, we'll be in touch for
next
sure.
time.
And thank you so much.
Oh,
Till
yeah.
next time.
Yes, thank you.
Later,
Thank you.
Chris.
Later.
See everyone.
See ya.
brother.
Bye.